Hi y'all, it's Mo and welcome back to my channel. Today we're discussing the 2006 masterpiece, Aquamarine. It's a movie about mermaids and female friendships, so obviously it was one of my favorites growing up. It stars Emma Roberts, JoJo, and Sarah Paxton, and it is so good! So good! Ugh! It's also one of the few movies I've ever seen that's actually better than the book, and I don't say that lightly. This is probably because the movie changed the lukewarm plot of the book so much that it's almost unrecognizable, but I digress. Aquamarine is about a girl who's half sushi, and that's it. I'm just kidding. Aquamarine is a movie about two girls, Claire and Haley, newly in their boy-crazy stage of teenagehood, who end up finding a mermaid in the swimming pool at the beach resort. They discover that if you help a mermaid, you can get a wish, and that will keep Haley from having to move away to Australia at the end of the summer. The mermaid, Aquamarine, wants to prove that love exists by finding true love in 3 days. She chooses Raymond, the girl's boy crush, as her suitor, and spends 3 days trying to convince him to fall in love with her. It's funny, it's cute, it's adorable, and I have a real soft spot for the ending. Aquamarine invented selfless love and sacrifice before Frozen was even a thought in the mind of the Disney creators. In this video, we're going to be analyzing the plot, so buckle up and come along for the ride with me. Or ride the wave. Grab your surfboard. Or your boogie board. Which is not suitable for open waves, but you know. Anyway, before we dive in, so to speak, I obviously want us to consider the minds behind this movie, including the director, Elizabeth Allen Rosenbaum, the producers, Sarah Kartzonis and Stephen R. McLaughlin, the writers, John Quaintance and Jessica Bendinger, and of course Alice Hoffman, who wrote the original book. Alright, let's get into it. Anyway, I want to start this analysis by talking about Raymond. Raymond's a babe, and I've seen a lot of people in their contemporary analysis of this movie say, like, why are all of these women thirsting after Raymond? Like, he's not that good looking. But guess what? If you want to see women thirsting after some mediocre guy, just watch The Bachelor. Just talk to your female friends and see who's lusting after some basic white guy. It happens all the time. Also, this movie gave us gems of boy advice that held up through my teen years, such as this one.
Fluff and retreat. Fluff his ego, then walk away. Not only is he left wanting more, but he's under the impression that it's his idea.
I definitely feel like they could have come up with a better verb than fluff. The girls are dressed in classic early 2000s outfits, and it'll tell us a lot about their characters. For instance, Haley's wearing a giant t-shirt over her swimsuit, but still showing a little shoulder. She's a tomboy, a phrase which I hate, but she's very cool, she's very chill, she's very comfortable in herself. And Claire is wearing a cardigan to the beach, and a little skirt, and a tank top. At this point in the movie, we don't know why Claire is afraid of water, but her outfit does show us that she came to the beach with no intention of going in the ocean. Also, this movie reveals Cecilia, the antagonist, pretty early, and it has such an awesome way of doing so. She looks adorable, and she has her whole posse with her. This movie also has a lot of discussion about boobs for a kids movie. I mean, I guess it's targeted towards preteens more than kids, but you'll be glad to know that Cecilia's solid C cup has grown over the summer.
Make it bigger.
This movie also contains a lot of analysis about boys' body language, which for a long time I took as gospel. It's also really interesting to see a movie clearly objectify a male body on screen. Raymond's supposed to be the eye candy who we're all in love with, and they established that very clearly early on.
Oh, we've decided to fire Raymond.
What?
I think that this movie is pretty tightly written, actually. They establish Leonard as a character who is creepy really early on, immediately, and they really set up the whole plot really excellently.
M or W?
Now that I'm an adult and I watch this movie, I realize that Leonard's just one of those creepy old men who doesn't realize he's kind of creepy, but is completely harmless. Haley also has the very beginnings of some great teen angst going on here. I'd love to see what she's like when she grows up in Australia as a teenager. This scene really establishes the conflict really easily. She's moving, she doesn't want to move, she has a dad, he's out of the picture somehow, he's probably dead because this is a kid's movie. So nicely done, very well written. Anyone who says this movie is badly written can suck a lollipop. Sorry, I panicked there. I was about to say something obscene, and then I remembered that my mom watches this channel. And right away we get right back into this adorable sleepover the girls are having.
We have to dance with Raymond at the last splash. We'll be such great dancers that he'll realize that he has to marry one of us. And we'll be so happy that one of us got him that we won't even be jealous, you know? Unless he picks you. That would be okay.
This kind of flawless logic is the way I still think about dating as an adult, which might be why I have so many problems dating as an adult. During the sleepover, both girls are dressed in their comfy clothes with loose pajama pants and spaghetti strap tank tops. Claire is wearing 2 of them because this was the early 2000s. The girls make a wish that they can stay together and not have Haley move to Australia. And this moment will show us a lot about the dynamic of their friendship. Haley is clearly the leader, and Claire is clearly so loyal she would follow Haley to the ends of the earth. Their friendship is really precious.
Use your powers to keep my baby out of TV. Make it hard to see me.
And that, friends, is how a mermaid arrives on land. And you know what? Can't argue with that. Our heroines wake up from their slumber to find the beach in shambles, and of course Raymond is wearing another blue pair of board shorts to symbolize his inner emptiness, and seeing this, the girls get dressed and go downstairs to inspect the carnage. What interests me here is that Claire has put on a pink swimsuit with a loose collared shirt on top and flippity floppies. Now, not to victim blame or anything here, but why is she wearing a swimsuit if she never intends to go in the water? Interesting. Because this movie has to have a plot and it can't just be 2 girls having sleepovers and ogling at Raymond the whole time, Claire falls into the pool and nearly drowns because she hasn't swum since she was a child. Swam? Anyway, Raymond rips his shirt off immediately and jumps into the water to save her because he's a hero and he's very sexy and we had to see that. And in the process, Claire sees what looks to be a mermaid. How interesting. We didn't know that going in. But also, I'd like to mention that the pool is not that deep, and I can't imagine that no one saw a mermaid swimming around in there earlier. I mean, her tail is pretty big. Of course, boy crazy Haley, who's actually a lesbian, is wearing a terrible outfit, including a graphic shirt on top of a shirt and cargo pants because she's a lesbian. And she's more excited about Raymond touching Claire than she is about anything else. Which, you know, I was 13 once, I understand. Actually, I'm being ridiculous. I don't mean to bi erase here. Haley is bi. She likes Raymond. She also is in love with Aquamarine, as we'll see later. And let's be honest, once we meet her, aren't we all a little in love with Aquamarine? Anyway, quick as a flash, because this film has a great plot and great pacing, we have to meet our next protagonist. Our heroines sneak onto the pool deck to investigate, and of course they bring things like sardines and crab cakes and, of course, gummy worms, because that's what all investigators must bring. Also, I find it so special that Claire and Haley's relationship is so strong that when Claire was like, I saw a mermaid in the pool, Haley's like, oh shit, yeah, let's investigate. Immediately on board, doesn't argue, goes with the flow. So sweet that she just believed her friend immediately. Ugh, the friendship. And we meet our favorite character, Aquamarine, right away because of gummy worms.
I bet I know what it was. I'm guessing it was a mermaid.
I love the little plop sound that the gummy worm makes when it falls out of Haley's mouth into the water. I think it's so funny. This scene contains some of my favorite lines in the film that I'm going to cycle through right now and show you because I think they're so great.
blah, blah, blah.
Stop shrieking like a couple of gulls.
Shrimps are awfully loud. Never been this close to a human before. Yeah, must be weird for you.
Also, a little backstory about the Mermaid tales because I know you're dying to hear. I had the DVD with the special features on it from the library when I was a kid. So obviously we watched the special features, and apparently there were 3 main tails that Sarah Paxton had to wear. One was the posing tails for shots like this, another was the moving tail, and another was the tail that she used for the jump out of the pool. That one had to be constructed in a special way so that they could make it look like she was diving in and out of the pool. Apparently, the stunt tail was like a giant rotisserie where it just rotated her in and out of the shot. The posing tails are basically done just to look pretty. The swimming tails were utilitarian. Basically, JMB FX Studios made all the tails, and they made it with like about 5,000 scales per tail to make it look really fishy. And there was actually a 4th one, the animatronic tail, that they used as a tail robot to make the moving shots of the tail. Apparently, Sarah Paxton had to arrive to set super early to get ready every morning to get that mermaid look, which is understandable. She looks incredible. Another thing that I learned from the behind-the-scenes DVD featurette is that Sarah Paxton was constantly almost flashing the cameraman with her boobs. She had to wear these chicken cutlets over her boobs, like these fake boobs that they had her wear. Men were constantly apologizing to her because they thought that they'd seen a nip, but they obviously hadn't because she was wearing fake boobs. And she talks about this in the behind the scenes, and I just wonder, why didn't they have her be a mermaid with a shirt on? Take a pause here to appreciate the dedication to grabbing the gummy worms in front of Leonard. Would have done the same thing. Our heroines go home for the night and sleep it off, and they wake up thinking perhaps this was all a dream and that we just sleep with sardines by our bedside all the time. And although their pajamas are not worth commenting on, it is important for me to note that they had time to change while they investigated the sucky thing. So they didn't just run straight out to the pool. They changed from their pajamas, which we'll notice that Haley is wearing a baseball shirt, to the loose shirt that Haley's wearing later. Luckily, I can't be too mad at this because this shirt is going to become a big plot point, y'all.
It's you! You scared the salt out of me. I thought you were that man with that awful sucking machine.
Luckily, pretty quickly with some speedy plot advancing, we learn that Aquamarine can turn herself into a human by the light of day, as long as she doesn't touch water or have the sun set, which is pretty convenient. And also, I love how excited she is about her new butt. I would feel the same way.
Check this out. Whoa! Wow. Isn't it cute? Very cute. And I can sit on it.
Not only do we learn that Aquamarine has the very special power of being able to turn into a human in the daylight, she also can turn an ugly t-shirt into an amazing outfit. Enviable.
Oh no! That's not what you do. You have to put your arms through them. You know what I mean?
No.
Oh.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now, the girls get right on making sure Aquamarine has a good time being a human, and she's adorable in her little t-shirt dress. Also, the magic of costume design is that it's definitely not the same shirt. The shirt that Haley was wearing had raglan sleeves, which means the shoulder seams go diagonally across instead of being set normally where the shoulder is, which means that there would be an unsightly seam on Aquamarine's t-shirt dress, which there's not. But movie magic makes me believe that I too could turn a boring t-shirt into a cute little t-shirt dress. It is very cute that she gets to kick people now with her new legs, and it's also very adorable that we get to learn about shell phones, and that mermaids can call each other from the sea with shell phones. So cute! This also will advance the plot here because, as we learn from the conversation from the shell phone, Aqua's father is very mad that she's not getting married, and we get to learn all about Aqua's little backstory. Not that much, not as much as I would wish. I wish we could learn why she's getting married to an octopus or whatever, but alas, that was not relevant. Aqua tells us right away that she's here to find love because her dad doesn't believe it exists, And she wants to find love with none other than Raymond, which don't we all? Actually, not all of us do, because a lot of comments on the video Aquamarine, which you can find free on YouTube with ads, by the way, were, why are all these women chasing after this mediocre white man? Which is true, but also Raymond's a babe, so I'm a little conflicted. Anyway, Aquamarine, who has amazing vision to be able to see that far away, decides that she wants to go for Raymond because he's a babe, and he's obviously the only one on this beach with any self-confidence. At first, the girls are devastated, but because they want a wish and because they're amazing friends, they decide to help Aquamarine fall in love with their boy crush. We'll also get some great shots of objectifying Raymond, which, debating on whether or not that's okay, but enjoy it while you can because we'll be speeding through the next one. Although, maybe not, because I am a slut for Jake McDorman.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you love me?
No, but I think you're hot.
We'll see here that while Aquamarine understands the concept of love, she does not understand the process of love, and that it takes a while to develop, and you don't just fall in love with someone you meet immediately. But I appreciate Raymond for being straightforward and not telling a stranger that he loves her, which, how would you react if a hot girl came up to you on the beach and said she loved you? I personally, we're not going to talk about that, but we also learn that if you help a mermaid, you get a wish, which I'd like to invite you in the comments to sound off on what your mermaid wish would be.
You need shoes! Yeah, and undies!
An important plot that we shouldn't forget, but that I don't care about that much, is that Leonard finds a mermaid necklace which lets him know that there's a mermaid around. But also there's the important plot point that Aquamarine is just not wearing undies, which, big burn. It's also fun to see that Aqua is taken aback by the fish skeletons just hanging around in the house, which is similar to how one might react when confronted with a wall full of, I don't know, deer skulls. After some cuteness in which Aquamarine lures Haley's fish out of hiding by her mermaid fish skills, we learn the real reason they're here, which is to call Raymond and then hang up, which is what I did plenty of times as a teenager. I apologize to JT True right here. Sorry. Aquamarine, of course, goes one step further than I ever did with my middle school crush and throws the phone out the window while screaming because she's never used a phone before and because they didn't explain it. This scene is so iconic in so many ways. I wish I had sat on the handlebars of a friend's bicycle and ridden past the house of the boy I like, but nobody knew where he lived. And you know what? That's probably for the best. Apparently, Julia Roberts had to learn how to ride with someone on her bike handlebars because she had never done it before, and I believe in the process, she did knock Sarah Paxton off her bike. This whole scene is just iconic. The riding back and forth in front of his window while he doesn't notice them, iconic. The falling off the bike, iconic. The him jumping over his railing in slow motion while we objectify him, iconic. Also, in terms of dudes, Raymond may be kind of a bonehead, but he's super sweet, and look how he just came out to help this girl who fell in front of his house.
We didn't even remember this was your street.
As someone who falls in love with every mediocre man who's even slightly nice to me, I completely understand Aqua falling head over heels because he gave her a band-aid. I mean, how romantic. Ugh! Also, of course, our resident villain should pull up at the same time in a pink car, which I want to drive, wearing a blue shirt that says princess on it in a pink bandana. I mean, how precious is that? She looks so cute. Ugh! I gotta stop making that sound in this video. People, I'm gonna get flagged. Also, please notice that Cecilia is a terrible driver and her front bumper says princess on her license plate, which is just next level of extra.
I was named Aquamarine after a rare and precious gemstone, whereas Cecilia translated means dim-sighted. But your parents know you better than I do.
Wow. What did you just say to me?
Yep, definitely dim-sighted.
Important things to notice from this scene: Cecilia drives a stick, which is why she's capable of driving, but still needs driving lessons, because Raymond's teaching her how to drive a stick shift. Also, Cecilia technically means blind, but dim-sighted works just as well. It's probably a different translation. And how amazing is it that Aquamarine was just like, oh, this bitch is my enemy. Good, I know that, and just went in for the kill. Now it's time for Boy Data Overdrive, or as I like to call it, my preteen years. We're going to learn some amazing tips from these articles, such as the keep on smiling and the fluff and retreat, which luckily we've already discussed, so we don't need to go that much into it. We're also going to learn that Aqua's nails change color when she has moods, which, you know what, as someone with a personality disorder, I would have the craziest nails ever. But as someone who's watching this movie, I just think it's kind of a silly plot device that wasn't that necessary, but whatever, I think it's cute. Also, let's enjoy this moment of Aqua shotgunning salt, because adorable. A bunch of these are actually real magazines that are no longer in print, like Cosmo Girl, and interestingly enough, we'll learn from the IMDb trivia facts, JoJo is featured in one of the magazines. If you pause fast enough, you might see it. I saw Beyonce when I paused, but I'm always seeing Beyonce.
How do you remember all this? You have to be flirty with Demir. Devoted but not desperate. Available but elusive. And if he calls Wednesday for Saturday, you have to be busy, even though you're free? It's so annoying.
And in just a few sentences, Aquamarine describes the annoying paradoxical nature of being a girl in this society. I personally think it's really interesting the way in which Aquamarine's mermaid logic doesn't adapt to the girl logic of the early 2000s. She doesn't believe in playing hard to get or not showing your feelings because she shows her feelings straight on the surface. She's like a tidal pool when it comes to emotion. The logic that she's picked up from these magazines has taught her the laugh and pass, in which you walk past laughing, which I still use to this day. Hello fellas. And also shake your hair and hope that he notices you being carefree and breezy, which so far has not worked for me. My favorite one, though, has got to be Aqua's mistaken attempt at the fluff and retreat, in which she compliments him so hurriedly and runs away that he doesn't even have time to react, which is amazing. Also, it works on him.
Are you having a good time?
I'd like to invite you to notice how great the chemistry is between Aqua and Raymond. Like, you can tell that they're both kind of into each other, even as they've only just met. We'll also notice that both Raymond and Aqua have changed their clothes for this occasion. Aqua has wrapped the sleeves around her like a belt to make a cute little cinched empire waist doohickey, which, like, given the type of shirt that we know this is probably not feasible. But once again, I'll give it a pass for mermaid magic. And Raymond has changed into an open button-down shirt over a white tank.
I just love eating cotton candy. I mean, I love eating it. Right now, so cute. It's so much fun to eat it.
It's amazing how well Claire and Haley wing women Aqua. Like, they have known her for a grand total of a day, and they are willing to jump in and make sure that whatever needs to happen happens. Granted, there is the wish and play, but I think that they're the kind of people who would have made sure that she didn't mess up anyways. Aqua really has some nerve to go out on the paddle boats on the water with Raymond, when she could turn into a mermaid at any second. Like, what if she fell in? She literally perches on the side of it and doesn't worry about falling in and accidentally turning into a mermaid. Also, we'll notice here that the two just talk and get along because they have undeniable chemistry. That was my John Ralphio impression. I hope you liked me singing. When Aqua realizes that the sun is about to set and panics, she rushes back to the shore. I get that she's a mermaid and she doesn't understand about human customs, so this excuse probably wasn't right at the top of her head, but in another reality, I wish she had just said that she had a curfew. Also, we'll notice that despite me calling Raymond a grade A moron this whole time, he's really not. He talks Aqua through her stress and is really sweet and is like, oh, you're stressed out? Let's just try to talk and breathe through it. It's great. I'm also glad to see that Claire comes through in a time of crisis and finds a watery place for Aqua to go. She chooses a water tower, which is known for people hiding dead bodies in, but also as a system of water storage and potability. I did a lot of research on water towers, and guess what? They're super boring! It's basically so towns can have fresh water, just in case, and also for mermaid storage. Growing up, my family had this really annoying tradition of every time we would drive past a water tower, my dad and my sister would scream, "Water tower!" to point them out to us, which was super annoying and very loud. Anyway, back to the movie that we're discussing. Haley is super brave and plunges ahead and climbs up the ladder even though it's unstable and rickety. And Claire, ever the pragmatic and anxious one, stays on the ground, which, for lookout purposes, probably a good idea. Also, we'll notice that Aquamarine dives in the water straight away and her t-shirt just disappears. Where did it go? She has it the next day, so where did it go? I'd like to appreciate how gorgeous Sarah Paxton looks in these shots, even with wet hair, and it makes me think of Eliza Schlesinger's special Confirmed Kills where she says we should all stop wanting to be mermaids. Part of her theory is that everyone wants beautiful mermaid hair, but nobody's hair really looks that great wet, except, as we can see, Sarah Paxton. The girls have another sleepover and discuss what to do the next day because apparently Aqua can't keep wearing the same ratty old t-shirt as an outfit, even if she looks incredible. Which, you know what? Good point. The girls and Aqua have a all day to prepare for the last splash, which I believe is purely to show us the archaic fashions of the early 2000s, including a love of geometric prints and lime green, and also halter tops that were not feasible for anyone who was larger than a C cup.
I go through life unnoticed.
We can thank Aquamarine for single-handedly bringing vintage fashion back into style. You can hear Haley screaming as they go in, "No, that store is for old people!" But Aqua doesn't care. Plus, would this be an iconic teen movie if we didn't have a scene of the girls dancing in front of a mirror while trying on outfits? I love it. We'll also see Aqua pull out the dresses that the girls end up wearing to the last splash, which is precious. It also kills me to see Aqua pull the sleeves off this dress before she's even bought it, because I think the sleeves are a pretty cute detail, but I didn't make this movie. So, note that here Aqua is wearing that same blue t-shirt just with the sleeves tied in a knot over her shoulder, but later when we see her, she's gotten a whole new outfit for the day, which I think is nice. Other details I'd like to point out is Aqua running away screaming from the water, and the nail salon stylist slapping Claire's hand away to keep her from biting her nails. Claire's also too polite to do anything but shrug and smile about it. This scene is so fun, and I love how the girls get mermaidified for this event. Let's just think about the fact that mermaids just naturally have blue streaks in their hair. We can see a little more of the girls' outfits here, and I think that this shows a lot of the newfound confidence that you have when there's a friend who just makes you feel like yourself. We can see that Aqua has gotten a new outfit here with a lilac top and a navy skirt, and also that mermaids think it's barbaric that humans pierce holes in their ears, which I imagine that they would also think that tattoos are barbaric. This next scene is not very important to the plot. I mean, you could probably cut it out and be just fine and know what's happening, but it does show how the girls are developing. Claire is still afraid of the water, but she wants Haley to be adventurous and have fun. They're both super protective of each other and want the best for each other, which is so sweet, and Aqua really brings the girls out of their shell. We'll go over this at the end, but I just want to prompt you to think about how important female friendship is in this movie. Sometimes it's not romantic love that inspires you to climb mountains and conquer dolphins, it's friendship, and it's so important in this movie, it's the foundation of the whole plot. Notice that although Haley is wearing a swimsuit underneath her clothes, she goes in the water in her jeans and her swimsuit, so that's gotta be really uncomfortable. Apparently this scene was filmed at SeaWorld back before we knew what an ethical minefield SeaWorld is, and JoJo was afraid of the dolphins. Now, I'm sure y'all have forgotten exactly what the point of this dolphin trip is, because this movie is 15 years old, and this is barely relevant to the plot, but Haley is on a quest to get earrings for Aquamarine because Aqua refuses to pierce holes through her ears, which is fair. Claire also gets to have a heart-to-heart with Aqua about why she believes in love, and Aqua says that she believes in love because she saw a couple on a boat one time, and it turns out that those were Claire's parents, which is just so serendipitous and so lovely. And Haley returns with the earrings, and we discover one of the best lines in the history of all cinema, which my mom still quotes to me to this day.
Oh, stop.
Notice that although Haley went into the water in her clothes, she barely appears to be wet at all. She's thrown on her t-shirt from before over her swimsuit, and her hair looks fabulous, which you'll also notice that she started wearing her hair down for once. I think it's from the confidence that Aqua gives her. And even though our teenage antagonists are taunting her, Aqua always thinks on her feet and fountains water at them, which is hilarious. And she is immediately devastated that Raymond might not go to the splash with her. Haley follows Aqua to the beach where she's standing at the verge of the waves and thinking about her life and having her toenails turn blue because she's sad, and gives her a not-so-helpful speech about how love sucks and convinces her to stay. Also, Haley is right. Love is painful and it can cause some of the most profound pain that you'll ever know. But it's also one of the most wonderful things that you'll ever know. So I guess she does some good convincing here. Another moment of mermaid science that you've probably never thought of before is that mermaids don't really have tears because they live underwater, so they would never know that they're crying. And Aqua is just realizing this now, which is amazing. Meanwhile, Claire goes to find Raymond and figure out why he's ditching Aqua for the last splash. I'm proud of how brave it was for Claire to do this at all. Also, notice how it seems to be a team party, but there's no signs of red Solo cups anywhere, and this is probably at someone's parents' house. Who has these rich parents, and how can I be friends with them? Now here, the plot thickens as we realize that Raymond's not a terrible guy. It's just that Cecilia convinced him that Aquamarine had a boyfriend. And as hot as Cecilia might be, she's also proven herself to be a grade A bitch here, trying to get a guy to throw Claire in the water. And Claire, of course, freaks out because she's terrified of water because her parents drowned. Raymond is instantly turned off by what a bitch Cecilia is being, which is understandable. And it boggles my mind that after this, Cecilia would ever think that she has a chance with Raymond. Like, she's proven herself to be a liar and kind of mean, and to torture 13-year-olds in front of the guy she likes. It's just, why would you ever think that this guy is gonna be like, oh yeah, let me be with this girl who bullies preteens? Claire arranges to take him back to the beach club, which I imagine must have been an amazing moment of her young life, getting to chat with Raymond for the period of the walk. And of course we get some iconic shots and some iconic lines here.
Who needs Raymond? I found 2 new men to love. Their names are Ben and Jerry.
Also, I know we've all noticed this, but please notice that the ice cream that Aquamarine is eating is called fish food, which for a while was the main Ben & Jerry's ice cream I would get because of this movie. It is delicious. It has caramel and chocolate ice cream and rivers of marshmallow, I think, and fish chocolate. Not chocolate-covered fish, which would be disgusting, but just chocolate in the shape of fish. This is not an advertisement for Ben & Jerry's, but if it convinces you to buy some fish food, my work here is done. You'll notice that Aqua is pouring salt into the ice cream because that's what she does, and some very quick thinking on the part of Haley to cover up the mermaid tail. If you'll see in this shot, the tail didn't disappear. Haley's just sitting on it and slung her legs over the side of the bathtub and pulled the curtain forward so that you can't see the flukes to the tail. My favorite part of this scene is how cute Aqua and Haley look in their little bathrobes, and also how terrible Claire and Haley cover up the fact that they were eavesdropping.
You know what? And then the fish attacked me. It attacked you? Yeah. Really? It went like this.
Later, guys.
Oh, hey. Thanks for coming.
It's also amazing how short that conversation was. It probably was just like, hey, do you want to go to the last splash with me? Yeah, I do. Okay, bye. It's also very cute that the girls are screaming and celebrating and Raymond hears them and thinks it's cute. My heart is kind of saddened that we didn't get a long getting ready montage for the last splash of the girls having fun and getting ready. With all of the hacky sack racing and the balloon tossing and the Raymond getting hit in the chest by a water balloon, you'll notice how cute it is that he stops short when he sees Aquamarine arrive because he thinks she's beautiful. It's so sweet. Aquamarine's nails turn green because she's nervous, and the two get prepared to have a wonderful time together. Please notice how the girls are wearing outfits that they thrifted earlier that day, and please notice how happy everyone looks. It's adorable. There are a lot of things I really love about this segment of the movie, so let me just run through them. First is how excited Raymond looks to see Aqua and how excited she is to see him. Then it's the little dance that the girls do when they see the two together. I also love how they spy on them and how cute it is that they're keeping watch over them. I think it's really fun how Aqua puts the salt in her drink and Raymond, who has been in salt water, is just like, oh yeah, let's try it, and is immediately disgusted. I love how this man knows what salt water tastes like, having been in the ocean, and just tries it anyway because he's into Aqua. I love the way that the girl's obsessive Raymond stalking has finally paid off, and knowing that his favorite song is Island in the Sun by Weezer actually works and makes him want to dance with Aqua. I love how cute it is, the way that him and Aqua dance together and how awkward she is on land. And I love that he's not fazed by it. I think that Raymond is a very sweet and understanding guy, and that he's a lot more down to earth than we give him credit for. Given the fact that he's the romance interest in an early 2000s teen film, it's very interesting that he's still a well-rounded character. I also love how the girls see Cecilia coming and immediately stand up for Aquamarine. I think it's really important how Claire is the one who steps forward and calls her out, because it shows a lot of bravery on her part. I think this situation is also helped along by the fact that Cecilia comes up right when Aqua and Raymond are dancing forehead to forehead. Of course, Aquamarine has to leave early because the sun is setting and there's the whole mermaid time clock issue, but she and Raymond do get to kiss before she leaves, which, romance, height of romance.
Tomorrow you can tell me. Come to the pier at 9 o'clock.
Tell you what.
Tell me how that makes you feel.
I also think that Cecilia's vendetta against these teenage girls is hilarious. She literally waited outside of a party so she could follow them home. And yes, Aquamarine is doing something fishy and climbing up in the water tower and staying there for a night. But what would have happened if she had just been going home to Claire's house, considering that she's supposed to be Claire's cousin? What would have happened if they had just followed her home and then nothing was happening? How embarrassed would Cecilia be? Also, side note before I get back to ragging on Cecilia, how romantic is this tableau comparing Aqua and Raymond both looking up at the same fireworks? Ugh, romance. And of course, back to our villain Cecilia, who has dragged her friends along to wait for Aqua at this water tower. Amazing how Claire and Haley did not see them on their way home. They must have biked near them. But anyway, Cecilia, since she's no bitch, climbs up the water tower to investigate. Of course there's something for her to find, because what would the plot of this movie be if she didn't? She sees Aquamarine as a mermaid and flips out, of course, and her friends are in the process of leaving her because Cecilia is a terrible friend and a terrible person. Also, you'll see Aquamarine swimming around in the water tower, and you'll see that the little dolphin toy that Raymond got her at the street fair is still there, which is cute. Now, I think Cecilia finds herself in a uniquely awkward position at this point. What would you do if you see a mermaid in the water tower? I personally would be enthralled because I love mermaids, but if I was Cecilia and I thought that this mermaid was trying to steal my man, I probably would be pissed as well. What would you do if you found out the girl you were threatened by was actually a mermaid? Share in the comments below. Cecilia, of course, wastes no time and decides that she's going to trap her rival in the water tower, take the ladder, and get it reported on the news so that they can find a mermaid on the news. Of course, she gets to the ground and finds out her friends have left her because Cecilia is terrible to be around, and she has to walk a mile back or so to the party. Interesting how Haley supported Claire when she had her mermaid theory, but Cecilia's friends do not believe her at all. Now, I don't know if this comes with age or with closeness, but it's just funny to me. Also interesting how Cecilia is a bitch to people who she thinks are below her, like the woman who's checking in people at the front of the last splash. It's like that litmus test that says you can tell the quality of a person by how they treat people they believe to be below them, and you can tell that Cecilia is not a good person. Okay, pretend I'm the annoying friend who pauses or talks over the movie to tell you an important detail. Notice how Raymond hears everything that Cecilia is saying and goes home to research. This will be important later. We'll also notice that Haley is growing a little bit and noticing how important her mom's dream is to her, and deciding the next morning that she's going to give Claire her fish, who does not appear to be in the bowl. And of course, back to the action, Cecilia immediately goes and tells her dad about the situation down at the water tower, which she has framed as hearing a girl crying and being stuck. And of course, he has to put it on the news without even fact-checking it first. Meanwhile, Claire and Haley have their first big fight, as Haley admits that she thinks that they should give up their wish so that her mom can follow her dream of working for the Marine Society in Australia. Claire, of course, is threatened by this because she thinks this means that Haley doesn't want to be her friend anymore. I'm reading into it a lot, but that's what I do. Both launch into attacks against each other, one saying that, "How is it that you've lived here all your life and I'm your only friend?" And the other saying, "You're so mad at the world that you push everything out." Which, both of these things are true. But, yikes. It's a very emotionally charged moment, and it's like the emotional climax of the film, and makes us realize how much is at stake for these girls. Of course, this fight is immediately put on pause because their mermaid friend is stuck in a water tower and it's being reported on the news. Also, it's a fun thing to notice that her father is named Storm Banks. I think he's a weather reporter, and he just has so much clout at this station that he's able to pull out the cameras for a girl stuck in a water tower. But of course, the firemen get up there and find nothing because there's a plot twist in hand. Of course, Cecilia makes a fool of herself and her father yells at her on the news, which is amazing. She throws a fit because she's a bratty little teenager, and her father takes away her car keys because she's a bratty little teenager. It's an amazing moment, and a true moment of villain comeuppance for all of us. The plot twist, of course, is that Leonard has rescued Aquamarine from the water tower. You knew that, of course, because you've already seen this movie, because otherwise it would be weird for you to be watching analysis about a movie that you've never seen before. He gets a wish because he's helped a mermaid, and he wishes to fall in love with the woman who works at the beach club as well, which makes me believe that mermaids do not have the same rules for wishes as genies do. I think it's really nice to see this misunderstood character get a moment of recognition and realization. Aquamarine doesn't think he's creepy like the girls do because she doesn't have the same biases having lived in the sea her whole life. She tends to see people for who they truly are, not who they seem to be. Of course, it is 9 o'clock and time for the meeting with Raymond on the pier, and the girls, of course, are underneath the pier and spying on them. Which, what kind of friends would they be if they didn't? Notice how Raymond is really sweet and holding Aqua's hand, and also notice how underneath the pier, Claire is still so afraid of water that she won't go through 2 inches to continue spying on them. Aquamarine asks Raymond if he loves her, and of course Raymond says no, we've been on 1 date, which I think is a really important lesson to have in a teen movie. We see so many characters fall in love after 3 days, or after a week, or after only a little bit of knowing each other. But love is such an important process that you can't really rush it. You can't speed into it just because you want to. And Raymond, of course, means nothing mean-spirited by this. He still says, "I like you a lot. I think you're really special. I'd like to go out with you more." But he realizes that love can't be rushed into like this. Now, of course, we shall reach the climax of the plot, where Cecilia pushes Aquamarine into the water, and Aqua turns into a mermaid because she's in the ocean. Raymond asks Cecilia, "What is the matter with you?" because she has pushed a girl into the sea, which is just not safe, but is immediately taken aback by her turning into a mermaid. But Raymond, being the good guy that he is, still wants to rescue her. Our girls immediately run up to save Aquamarine. It is their courage that allows them to get to her in time, and it is their love that saves her. I think Claire was especially brave, overcoming her fear of water because saving her friend is more important. When Aqua asks, "Why would you do this for me?" and they say, "It's because we love you, Aqua," that saves her. It is their friendship, their love that saves her, not Raymond and not anything else. It makes me think of this quote by Emily Rapp. "Here's the truth. Friendships between women are often the deepest and most profound love stories, but they are often discussed as if they are ancillary, bonus relationships to the truly important ones. Women's friendships outlast jobs, parents, husbands, boyfriends, lovers, and sometimes children. It's possible to transcend the limits of your skin in a friendship. This kind of friendship is not a frivolous connection, a supplementary relationship to the one that we're taught and told are primary. Spouses, children, parents. It is love, support, salvation, transformation, life. This is what women give to one another when they are true friends, soul friends."
You jumped in the water to save me, and now you give me your wish? Why would you do that for me?
I don't know, I guess it's what I would do for her, and I know she'd do it for me, and just because we love you, Aqua.
Female friendships, especially at the age that Claire and Haley are your lifeblood. They're what hold us together, longer than relationships, stronger than the passing love that you might have for a crush. It is their love that saves the day, and it should be. We are so often taught, especially young women, that we need to look out for our prince, our knight in shining armor, to save us. We are the damsels, and we must be saved. We must be always looking for a romantic prospect because our lives are incomplete without one. But platonic love can be equally as important as romantic love. It is our friends who pick up the pieces when we fall apart more often than not. And it is our friends who would jump into the ocean to save us. Haley and Claire prove that love doesn't have to be romantic to be real. Love is what saves us, but love comes in so many different forms. And I'm so glad that this film recognizes it. I think this movie taught so many of us about love and friendship from such a young age, and I think that's so important. Also, notice how Aquamarine's nails turn pink to symbolize that she's in love, which is so sweet. There's not a lot for me to analyze at the end of this movie, so I'll leave you with this. Do you have friends who you would be willing to jump into a watery ocean to save? If so, tell them, because they deserve to know, because they love you too. And I love you.